Hi, I've got quite a long my story today, so please bear with me. 말씀가 좀 길어요. 그래서 끝까지 잘 집중해 주셨으면 감사하겠습니다. So, hello. Before I start, I want to ask you all a question. Do you believe and trust that God, who is our creator, has planned our path in life? Well, this question is always quite a struggle with me, especially when my circumstances are against me and when I'm going through stressful times and suffering. However, the past couple weeks, I was truly able to experience God and understand where He was leading me and that He had His hands over my situations. So if I introduce myself, my name's Haena from Vietnam House Church. I think most of you know. I firstly give all honor and glory to God for this time to be standing here and to share my story. Usually, I feel very uncomfortable coming forth to speak in front of lots of people, but I believe that this great timing for our house church to be doing the My Story this month, we had no one selected to be speaking this week, and I think that was really a great timing for our house church to be sharing and this to be happening right after camp and for it to be me standing here today. It's not all just a coincidence, but God who wanted me to share how He worked in my life during my difficult times. Going back to one night 3 weeks ago, after eating lots of junk food and marathoning Harry Potter with my boyfriend, I suddenly had a severe pain in my stomach. It's a bit TMI, but honestly, I thought I had constipation. So I kept walking in and out of the toilet every 5 minutes, but the pain wouldn't subside, and I felt worse, like feeling nauseous and feeling like throwing up. But remember, William was still there, and I really couldn't sit in the toilet for long. So he thought I had constipation, so he bought some laxatives, but nothing really helped me. And I quickly sent him home so I could sit in the toilet more comfortably. And throughout the night, I couldn't sleep because of discomfort and pain. This led me to go to see a doctor and get some scans done in the stomach area, and I was confronted with some unfortunate news. They saw that I had 2 large dermoid cysts in my ovaries that were 10 centimeters and 11 centimeters. The shocking news, well, the size was already shocking enough, but the shocking news was that an ovary is usually the size of an almond nut, so it's very small. So at the time, I was at the GP with my mum, and this news heightened my mum's anxiety. They told me I would be needing surgery to remove them. When I heard this news, I had so many questions. Was this tumor malignant, benign? Would it affect me having kids in the future? Would I even be able to have kids? And why was this happening to me? Thinking about all these questions heightened my anxiety, and I was concerned for my future. The next step was to meet a gynecologist or a specialist. However, nothing went smoothly. We called up a couple places, and they said that we had to wait until May or June just to speak with one and talk about exactly what is in my body and what to do from there on. From this point, I felt so hopeless and helpless. There was nothing I could do. I knew nothing about these cysts, what damage they have done, and what they can potentially do. I couldn't even see the specialist when I wanted to. My stress and anxiety was spiking, and on top of that, my mom was adding fire to my anxiety. She had been calling around all her friends, and they only came back with responses that were negative and concluded that I would be infertile if I don't do anything straight away. That very same day, my mom, who is not the one to be sitting back and relaxing, took me to emergency so we could get something done about this. She also booked flights to Korea for that same week so we could get some problems solved quicker in Korea. Originally, after the doctor's appointment, I was planning to have fur with William, but because of the change of plans, he ended up going to Westmead Emergency together. While waiting, there was nothing I could possibly do except to pray that everything will be okay. William suggested that I should let the church intercessory prayer team know so that everyone could pray for me. At emergency, I had blood tests and tumor marker tests done, and these tumor markers are usually used to detect cancer. Is that right, Joe? I'm not sure. Yeah. To see if there was anything present. And because I was no longer in pain, I was soon discharged. The next morning, the hospital called to say that my tests all came out fine. However, from this day on, I prayed so earnestly and desperately that nothing that I was concerned about was going to happen, and that I was able to meet the gynecologist and have a surgery soon. Originally, I was looking into meeting two different surgeons. Days later, one had called and said I was able to meet them in a week, which is really good because God had answered my prayers. I didn't have to wait for 2 months. However, as I was searching on Google, I found that their clinic had star ratings. One was 5 stars and the other place was 3 stars. Reading their reviews, I began to pray that I was somehow able to meet with the specialist with the higher rating. And miraculously, I received a call from them saying that they had a cancellation and that I was able to have an appointment with them the day after, which was the day before meeting the 3-star clinic. And to this day, I still believe that God had led me to her. Meeting the specialist was really nerve-wracking because it was like the moment of truth. So I prayed the night before and in the morning and right before I entered her room. I prayed that it was going to be an easy, simple surgery with no cancer or no removal of ovaries. However, the appointment didn't give me a peace of mind. Everything was so ambiguous. I was only given a conclusion that they will only know for sure if they open me up on the surgery bed. She said I was an emergency patient, but because I had no private health care, the fastest she could get me on an operation date was maybe in 3 months. By this stage, I was quite regretful that I hadn't prayed often and dwelled in God's words prior to me being sick. I felt like that was the reason I couldn't really hear his voice when praying. But eventually, my prayers were no longer just about my recovery, but for my mum's salvation and peace found in God. She had been to all my appointments with me and I saw from very close how lost and scared she was. Health was quite a sensitive topic for us. I think during this time, I prayed so desperately for my mum and God had answered that I was going through this because he wanted my mum to put faith in him. He wanted her to experience him through me, who she loved so much, and in a way that was unfixable by our own works. Because if it was easily solved, then we wouldn't be relying on God, honestly. With this strength, I confessed to my mum that because there was nothing we can do, we should pray. Not a prayer of request, but also gratefulness. Because we were able to meet the specialist quickly, that the blood test came out fine, and that the surgery could be in 3 months. She had resentment in God for our given situation, but I told her that I think God wanted her to meet him through me. That I am the one who is sick, not her, because I have a greater faith in God to heal me. In all honesty, although I did say that, I still had a bit of doubt. My emotions were like a roller coaster. One moment, I would say, there's no way that God had no plans of babies for me in the future. Like, I love babies. But the next moment, I'll be asking Dr. Google what will happen to me, which everything obviously leads to disease and cancer that leads to death. Maybe it was because of this doubt that I had, my already terrible situation only got worse. I received an email asking to do my blood tests again. The next day during work, I got a call from the specialist saying that my blood test results were abnormal and that the ultrasound that she finally took a look at showed that the cyst did not look like the typical cyst they find. The tumor markers were, the normal range is usually between 0 to 35, but my test came out as 91 and 326. She said it could be cancer or it could possibly be because of other underlying factors. That day, I lost the mental game and I started to cry at work. The specialist referred me to a gynecological oncologist who I had to meet on the day of the camp, so on Thursday. When I told my mum about this news, she wasn't happy. I still told her to trust in God, but this time she didn't want to hear about it. And she expressed her negative thoughts towards God. I felt heartbroken and angry at my mum's response. This conversation with Mum led me to question God. If he wanted her to meet him and give him his heart and give me this heart of desperation, why did it seem like that she was falling further apart from God instead of getting closer? Was this what God intended? Was God wanting me to have cancer and no kids just for my mom to believe him? I was in a sense of despair. I think that was a moment when I really laid flat and prayed to God. My prayer was no longer on the lines of, please let me not have cancer, please let me remove my ovaries, please let me still be fertile, please let it be an easy operation. It wasn't those, but I prayed in surrender. I prayed, tomorrow, no matter what result I hear from the oncologist, I will gladly accept it if it is the path to my mum's salvation. With that, I was able to truly have peace. Thank you. I have tissue in my pocket though. With that, I was able to truly have peace and not be nervous for my appointment. In conclusion of my long 3 weeks, I was told by the oncologist that it is unlikely that I have cancer, and the test results were abnormal because of the dermoid cyst itself. Furthermore, he had booked in my surgery date for the 18th of April, which is quite soon. My prayer points have been answered with the help of my house church members, my brother and my mom, my boyfriend, and the church community with their intercessory prayer. And I believe everything I went through was God's plan, as he had been watching over me. In this amazing timing, I was able to go to the singles camp that very day with the good news. When camp forms first came out, I signed up with no expectant heart. I was too busy calculating how much loss of money it was to miss out work on those 3 days. And since I already had pulled out of work the past couple of days to go to the hospital. However, like the theme of the camp, Holy Joy, I was able to experience this joy. Joy that through this suffering, my mom is a step closer to salvation, because deep down, although she said she had resentment, she wants to have faith in God and in what I told her. I mean, she went to church this morning, so that's a good sign. I want to end with a couple of things. First is a prayer request. My operation is on the 18th of April. If you can please pray for me that when I go through surgery, the doctors will not find anything abnormal and do surgery safely and to have a quick recovery. Next, I just want to share 2 Bible verses and end my testimony. First is Acts 16:31. Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household. From experience, once I met God, my brother started going to church. My dad was baptized and received Jesus before he passed away. And now I believe it is my mom's turn. I strongly hold to this verse that through me, my family will meet Jesus. And I also want to bring up Jeremiah 29:11, which is, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declared the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Do you believe and trust that God, who is our creator, has planned our path in life? Because I do. Thank you for listening to my testimony, and God bless you.